Hey, hey. Hello, hello. Happy to see privacy on the main stage of Devconnect. And many people are interested in like how we proceed forward as an ecosystem. Today we would talk about how complex and beautiful this privacy world is and how it's a coexistence of many different actors that complement each other on moving forward. And I would love these people introduce themselves, but through the lens of their relations, personal, to Ethereum and the privacy ecosystem as a whole.
Hi everyone, thanks for being here. I'm Antonio. I work on Fluidkey. That's a privacy-preserving wallet.
Hello everyone, my name is Alpeh V. I work on cryptography and security, and I work with a number of projects on their cryptography designs across the ecosystem and in privacy more generally.
Hi, I'm Kasandra. That's my moniker on the internet. You can also call me Cass or kzg.eth or just K. I work on a number of different things. So intersectionally, I work with the Ethereum Foundation as a grantee on this Kohaku wallet initiative, looking to push privacy deeper into the wallet stack and get wallets to experiment with on-chain privacy as soon as possible. I'm also part of the Silviculture Society with Violet here. We are an informal group giving advisorship to Ethereum Foundation leadership in a confidential manner on topics such as censorship resistance, open source, privacy, and security. And I'm also just generally interested in cypherpunk culture and the ways that we can opt out in different ways, like anarchist, collectivist thinking, hacktivism. All of these things are, I would say, the intersectional relations that put me here today. And I think I try to put all those things working in the same direction if possible.
Cool. Hey, I'm Sip. I'm working on Stewards network, and as you can see, I've been talking the whole week. Yeah, we are building a fully gasless L2 with a privacy layer that is native to the chain. And my relationship to Ethereum at large, I've been around since 2015. I started in Bitcoin originally, yeah, you know, solo staking, like really pushing. I think the decentralization part, you mentioned cypherpunk, is also like something I really want to see happening more. There's Oscar did a great talk about how we need to have cypherpunk in the room when decisions are made for financial instruments. So we hope to be here for that.
Great, great. Can we put a slide with the ecosystem on the background? So we were doing research granted by Ethereum Foundation on how privacy ecosystem would even look alike and what kind of different actors contribute to this bigger vision of privacy. Also, if I look around, I see many developers, researchers, thinkers, builders, activists who have so versatile skills, but they are a part of the bigger game. I would ask you how you would describe, in your own terms, how does Ethereum privacy ecosystem look alike? What are the key actors for now? In any order.
Are we going to list all the privacy solutions? Because there's a lot now.
Yeah, I think interestingly, I feel we shouldn't, right? I mean, I think the harder part is not to make a list, but to make a schema or to make a...
Taxonomy?
Yes, exactly, to try to slice in a certain way, which I guess now we see that you've done some of this work to do this slicing. But to try to put in my own words, to start maybe somewhere, I see a couple of major initiatives or verticals. One that I'm extremely passionate about is the bread and butter of on-chain privacy. So on-chain solutions that obfuscate the participants in financial transactions when you look at public blockchains. So this is things like Fluidkey and stealth addresses. It's things like what we're working on at Kohaku, and a number of other parallel initiatives, all of the shielded pool solutions which we make use of. I believe this is sort of the core or the heart, at least from the Ethereum perspective, of privacy, of what we might be calling Web3 privacy. But this is not everything. So this is the one which I see as like the somehow at the center. But my question maybe for the rest would be, okay, so how do we connect what or push back on this as the core if you don't believe? But like, how do you connect these other types, these other pieces, and how might we define them, and how are they connected to this core central facet?
Probably the best thing to connect them, my answer is always through user experience. Okay, so in a way that I think the ecosystem has a lot of building pieces now. Sometimes it's hard to use one or the other together in the right order. It's not just using them because it's fine, it's using the right way in the right order. This sometimes goes back to a question that a lot of people ask me, is like, how much private you are, and it's like, is there like a scale from 0 to 10? How does it work? No, it's always very confusing because what's private for me might not be private enough for you, and vice versa. And I think that UX is the mean to connect the different pieces so that I can share, decide, you know, to go from like a very easy flow, sometimes not as the top privacy flow, but easy, and sometimes maybe some more complex. But if you work around, even good privacy must flow into a very easy UX flow.
I 100% agree with that. And I think what we've seen in the DeFi world is something that we are going to see in the privacy world, where we're going to have more composable solutions across different type of privacy-preserving solutions, such as privacy pools can work also with stealth addresses. But we need to have the proper flow so that it makes sense to have both of them working together. And I mean, as you said, it's down to the apps to surface that to the users in a way that is not confusing and that doesn't require a PhD in cryptography to understand what's going on behind the scene. But when people can actually get the sense that, hey, my money is private now, or that interaction with that specific app is going to be done in a privacy-preserving manner. And being able to communicate that in clear words to the users. And actually, I'm talking about clear words here because I learned something this week through all the panels, is words matter. And when we hear, so like words like obfuscate and shield and so on, these are words that I've been using all the time. And now with a regulation that is starting to kind of peek around and be like, okay, what are you guys doing exactly? I think we need to have a very normative way of talking about privacy. So privacy, confidentiality have meaning that for the regulator is good, versus the moment we say, hey, we're going to do like shady things with the money. Yeah, so I think the user experience is super important because this is the words that people are going to be looking at, and explaining the flows in a way that makes user understand that now it's private, now it's confidential, but we don't do shady things, then this is what we need to go for.
Do you want something to add to that?
I think often the framing of privacy is kind of as a defensive technology. And in some ways, I think that the Ethereum ecosystem needs to expand beyond this framing of defensive technology. Like many of the projects are like focused quite a lot on defense. And this kind of narrative, I think, actually holds back the privacy product. I think we should be thinking about privacy as a sort of collaborative community effort. And by thinking about it in this way, we can actually expand the map of privacy that we're seeing in the ecosystem, because most of the narratives that you're saying to users are, oh, now someone can't look at your transactions, with the emphasis on the you. I think this will like, in many of the services, we actually need to be thinking more about what this can actually unlock for the user in a more like broad sense, what it can unlock for their community, and this will help it like will help the engagement quite a lot with these tools.
I would also say that our goal for a while is to break from echo chamber of like technical view on the privacy, from Ethereum view on the privacy, and go outside the world, talk with like Electronic Frontier Foundation, talk with Tor, talk with Brave, and get a feedback loop on like, so what's the real state of not just privacy, but a collaborative effort? When Brave is integrating crypto, well, Tor, as you hear today, will get way more adoption with Ethereum, or for example, Coin Center is actively defending dev rights, and there are many builders in the scene that needs such strong protection and alignment beyond whatever tribalism you're a part of. That's one bit, and the second bit also to understand, we keep talking about community, but what do we really mean by community? For example, in Fluidkey history, I guess hackathons is a part of the communal effort that helps to get product testing, feedback loop, jury at the hackathon who are like suggesting where this product should evolve. Maybe even potential mentors, partners does also represent community in that bigger sense. But then it's all the people who are using your product, who are trying to promote it, becoming an advocate for privacy and stuff like that. So I would also you to reflect like, what are the bigger pieces of the ecosystem we are missing in terms of the actors or like bodies that would really help us to kind of proceed faster or have a bigger impact. These things not necessarily should go together.
Yeah, Fluidkey started as a hackathon project under the hood, no? So for us it's always been like super crucial getting feedback and develop what our users want. You know, I think that the hackathon part is probably one of the best part that the Web3 has in terms of how projects start, what are the feedback collected, and so on. Now, looking always at the privacy, the part that, again, this is not my point, is a feedback I receive a lot from our users that kind of is missing, so you were saying, is the rules, the law, the compliance, because we have a lot of question, what if one day Fluidkey is considered like Tornado Cash, okay, or something like that. And I think that the missing part probably is that, again, I don't want rules seen as a bad actor. I mean, we need to live now. If you do things that are not shady, I mean, it's okay to have, but in a way that are clear and that are clear to us, the users that want to adopt this type of technology that might be scarce somehow.
Very quickly on that, we actually did some user research when starting to think about the chain, and one of the ideas was to make it fully private. And I immediately got pushback. That was like 2 years ago, so before the new administration. And it was like, as an American, I will never touch it. Okay, fine. All right. So what do we do now? So now we have like the option. You can go private or you can go public. But we need to define ways so that people can understand that, hey, hold on. Now you're doing something a bit different than usual. So are you okay with it? And on the kind of fully other side of the spectrum, having the technology so that we can't do something. And I think this is super important to fix limits that the technology will be able to do, in the sense of, can the government query the viewing keys for all the users? Well, if they can, probably it's not a private system. So for us building, we need to make sure that the way we think about the systems has boundaries that make it easy for us to be compliant, roughly, but not just giving the keys to the government, be like, you can do whatever you want with it.
I think this is a super important point, and it's very subtle and, of course, very sensitive topic for everyone who's working on privacy. But I do think it's extremely important. I think it's personally totally naive to build with compliance in mind, with such a framework that will allow the governments in the future to have strong lever points to completely de-anonymize the system. you need to create some sort of surface, potentially, for engagement. But my view is that we can't allow the jurisdictions and regulatory apparatuses inside of them to psy-up us into believing that these systems must be a certain way by default from the start. This is how they have pressed their thumb on the digital landscape and why we're in the place where we are now. So it's absolutely imperative, in my view, that we both we create this possible surface of conversation about compliance with regulators, but that these are strictly set up in a way that's strictly enforced so that there is a possibility for some privacy. Because if not, we're not doing anything here. We don't have to talk about privacy.
Yeah, I will echo and agree with Kasandra on this. Building for compliance, I think, is kind of a misnomer because compliance where? You know, there are hundreds of jurisdictions, each with their own rules, and if you'd like to build a global product, you cannot necessarily say, I am going to build a completely compliant product in every jurisdiction. I think it is much better to build a globally accessible product so that everyone can have the same type of infrastructure in the sense of the internet or these other large-scale projects that the entire world uses, and then to say, if you need something special, you can do it potentially in your jurisdiction. You can find a way to work around it. Instead of saying, oh, we're going to think about the privacy regulations of the United States. This is very different than the privacy regulations where I live. Like, in fact, some of the data collection that might be required by the United States might actually be illegal under German data protection laws. This type of behavior of building for compliance, I think, is going to be, firstly, a big distraction and ultimately futile. Not that it should be ignored, not that we should give these systems over to criminals, but ultimately, if you're building something for the general public, you're building an open source tool or a protocol, you simply cannot practically engineer this to work in every jurisdiction, for every law enforcement, for every regulatory body, in every country. Instead, you have to build something that is flexible and generic and that can meet the needs of everyone.
I just want to jump in really fast as well, finally, just to say one thing. The way I would think as a builder in Privacy Stack about compliance is actually from the reverse direction. We know that jurisdictions will try to coerce citizens for that. That's their job, and that's great. They should do their job, and they should have a job to do. It shouldn't just be transparent. They have to go and they have to ask you. And so things like viewing keys for protocols are, I think of them actually as a way to protect users, give them a way to comply, but with a small surface so that they have the ability to comply exactly in the way that they need. They can give you fine-grained information instead of having to give over, you know, the spending keys, let's say, to these protocols. And so I think we should think about these things from the view of how can we protect our users, give them a good surface to engage with these actors who are trying to coerce information out of you. This, I believe, is like the right approach. And still, it's not against jurisdictions existing. It's about helping us create the right conversation between individuals and their jurisdictions.
And scaling this narrative, Web3 Privacy Now lore, that sometimes when we go beyond the crypto, like reaching out to Meredith Whittaker from Signal or Eva Galperin from EFF, we're trying to say we're not crypto, we're cryptography, we're human rights with digital rights, come to us, and then explore decentralization and like connection points. But then maybe someone would talk about crypto, but from the technological perspective, not from the financial one, or over financial one. And it's a way of kind of like attracting and building the different storytelling for the actors who have skepticism, with whom we need to build trust first. And that's an interesting like cat and mouse game. Another example is Cypherpunk Retreat. We made these protocol apps when we thought, what if there will be no separation? Tor, Blue Sky, WYSIWYG on one stage. Lots of messengers all together, no separation, and it worked fine. People can talk to each other beyond the internet tribalism. Maybe some ending notes, because time runs out?
Well, on my side, make sure to talk to the project you use and share feedback, because that will shape how products are made, because if you don't do, someone else will do for you.
My note is that if you're looking to get into privacy or looking to promote it, just pick one thing to be incredibly extra about in all of your social circles. If it's your calendar, it's your messenger, just one thing, and this will do far more than you trying to be perfect.
My final note would be, yeah, for sure. Agreed. My final note would be that we should really focus on user experience and practical, concrete applications in production. It's great to be sitting here talking about privacy, and I think there's an amazing advocacy going on, but it's time to move on from the talking stage and to put experiments in the hands of real users, and we have all the tools we need already. What we need to do is stitch them together in palatable user experiences. So let's do that together.
I'll echo that, and my personal feeling is that we need to stop making privacy hackery, criminally dark, hoodie type of thing, and we need to make it something that is normal, social, easy, even maybe fun, and even rewarding with incentives. We are good with incentives in crypto. I don't see us being as good as we should be in privacy in terms of incentivization and in terms of like giving people real reason to go private.
As you see, privacy can be fun, and this is also the element of just being fun, because we are humans and we want to connect with each other in a nice human way. Thank you a lot, wonderful people.
Thank you.